Welcome back to Old War Stories with Uncle Jay. This one is entitled, He's Trying to Start the Car. This was going back, man, oh man, 30 years ago, 33 years ago, 33 to 35 years ago. I was 8 to 10 years old. My Uncle Leo, whatever car he had at the time, I don't remember precisely, but I think it was a GM. GM vehicles in those days had your typical ignition key, and cars since the very late 60s had two positions. So you'd put the key in, you'd turn it one position, and that would unlock the steering wheel, because I think they made that standard in 69, a locking steering column. So the first click would do that, then you'd turn further to the next click, and now all the lights on the dash light up, and then of course you turn it to crank the engine. But it also had another position where if it's off and the key is out and you put the key in, you could turn it backwards towards you, and that would be the accessory position, which typically would allow the radio to work. And that was about it. It was common, and my first Chevy in 81 had that, and it was just a common thing in those days. And nowadays that's not the norm, because typically you put the key in, first click is accessory, where just the radio, second click all the lights on the dash come on, the fan works, the wipers work, all that kind of stuff, and then turn to start. And of course now you have push buttons, and that's another story entirely. For whatever reason, my uncle's car was in the shop or something. Gee, that's a surprise being a GM. It was in the shop or something. I don't know. I don't remember. My cousin had to be 6, we'll say 6 years old. We were at my grandfather's house, probably for some sort of holiday. I don't know what it was. We were there early for some reason. It was a nice-ish day out in that it certainly wasn't winter. It wasn't cold out. It could have been the summer. It makes really no difference. Probably it does, but it doesn't. Anyhow, my uncle had rented a car, and he lived within walking distance of my grandfather's house, but to walk back late at night, he decided to take the car. And he could park it in my grandfather's driveway. This was Brooklyn. But it wasn't that busy of a road, so it wouldn't have mattered much if he had to park on the street. There's actually parking across the street, sort of on the grass that was there. Long story. That's all long gone. The street has been redone and all that. But back in those days, you could. My uncle had rented, I think it was like, I seem to remember it was a white Dodge Aries, maybe something around like 1985, seems to ring a bell. I don't know. And because it wasn't his car, he showed my cousin, who was like 6 years old, like I said, here, this is how you start the car. And he showed him to turn the key, and then when it starts, you let go. So I was out there. My grandfather's house had a porch. You could comfortably fit 5, 6 people out there. Comfortably. And he had a couple of chairs there, and you'd hang out, you'd lean against the railing or what have you. Anyways, his car was in the driveway. And we were standing there, my sister and I and my cousin, and something about, maybe my uncle said, do you want to listen to the radio, or let me show you this car that my dad has, or I don't know what it was. So my uncle specifically told him, he says, you know how you start the car now? Turn it the other way. I guess this car had that in 85, but I'm not sure. It could have been a totally different car. It's just what I seem to remember. Anyhow, it had the thing where you turn the key backwards. So we get in, And my cousin is futzing around with the key, and the radio is not working. So he goes to turn it to actually start it, and the starter engaged for a moment. It just went like, and my uncle yells down, "What's going on?" And I yelled out, "He's trying to start the car." So my uncle ran down and he's like, "No, no, no, backwards, look, like this." And he showed him. And I guess we put the radio on or something, and, that was that, and that's the end of the story. No, it's not the end of the story. For some reason, a little bit later that day, my uncle needed to go to the store for something. I don't know if my grandfather forgot something for the meal, or he maybe had to buy cigarettes because he smoked, or I don't know what it was, but he had to go. So he gets in his white car and he starts it up and he goes to the store. Time is going on. Where's Uncle Leo? Finally, the phone rings at my grandfather's house. He said, "It's Leo, I'm stuck over on Flatlands Avenue, or Flatbush Avenue, rather." And this was in Brooklyn. "I'm stuck on Flatbush Avenue over by the Wallbaums, or whatever supermarket at the time it was. I think that was the store that was there on Flatbush at the time. But anyways, Flatbush, right? What a name. Anyways, he said the car won't start. So now my dad goes over there, I think with my other Uncle David. And they go there, and they go to see what's going on, and indeed, the car won't start. They open the hood, and there was all sorts of corrosion on the battery cables, and that's why it wouldn't start. And it also explained why when my cousin tried to start it, it wasn't that he heard the starter and let go. No, it just fucking quit because the connection was that bad. And then it just magically worked again when my uncle left to go to the store, and so my uncle and my dad had to go there and clean the battery terminals. I think my Uncle David had a battery brush in my grandpa's garage or something, and they cleaned it up and it started up, and that was kind of the end of the story. But I just remember that he's trying to start the car. Could you getting a rental? Now, I know this happens, but getting a rental and they don't look over fucking shit on these cars. They typically don't, and they're poorly serviced. They'll do oil changes in that when they deem it necessary, whatever that's supposed to mean. But they don't check stupid stuff. Now, could it have just happened since the last oil change and gotten that bad by the time my uncle got it? Yeah, it's possible. But, I mean, that's kind of embarrassing for the company that's renting the car, isn't it? I thought so. Anyway, that's going to wrap this one up. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure you click like. Make sure you click subscribe. And take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.